All right, episode 59. Today we're going to talk about Opendoor laying off 35% of their staff, what we're feeling in our businesses right now, and we're also going to answer your questions. We're going to go ahead and get started right now.
Welcome to the only real estate podcast worth listening to with your host, Nick Good, Brian Force, and Matt Kelderman. Combined, they have over 26 years of real estate experience and have sold over 1,600 homes. Join them each week as they bring you everything you need to know about real estate. And now, Nick, Matt, and Brian.
I just appreciate the commitment to the bit so much.
I'm going to tell you,
it was amazing.
Super smooth. From my end, I think we nailed it. Nice job, Derek.
I was trying not to bust up laughing the whole time to throw you guys off because you were just
pretty solid.
I thought it was pretty awesome. Dude.
I think from now on, we're going to just do that from now on. I think that's the new one.
Yeah.
Even when we can start going back in studio, I want the music.
Just do it live every time.
Music.
Exactly.
Perfect.
All right, guys. We are testing this back out, this feature live, just because we did not like to do this, the pre-recorded of this. So today, before we get started, if you are not a member of the only real estate group worth being a part of, go ahead and head over there, request access, and share away. We're sharing what's working in our businesses. We're sharing good news, asking questions, etc. So go over to the only real estate group worth being a part of, request access to that, and start seeing how badass that community is.
Yeah.
Also, one main thing, if you are looking to up your skill right now, right, head on over to touracademy.com. We have special pricing just for we call it COVID-19 special pricing. That's what Brian Force wanted to specifically call it. So COVID-19 special pricing for $27 a month. You can have access to touracademy.com, all of our membership there, our training sessions, etc., as well as we do have an option for $197, our lifetime access. We're never going to ask you for another dime for that membership site. We do also host twice a month our Zoom mastermind calls, which a lot of people have been telling us that is worth $97 a month, which more than likely we will be raising that price up here in the next coming weeks. So go over to touracademy.com, get signed up, and that way you can jump on next week's Zoom mastermind call.
Can I say, I've been telling people that it's a bi-weekly mastermind, and I don't even know if that's true because I have a degree in writing, and I don't know what bi-weekly means.
It's bi-monthly, isn't it?
That's what I thought those were the same thing.
No,
I thought
bi-weekly means you're doing you twice a week.
Twice a week. Is that right? But
no,
see, I've heard it used in a context where it's like every other week. We really need to get it together as a society with that little sector of our language, because it's the same with like could care less and couldn't care less meaning the same thing. I don't understand that at all. And
I couldn't care less about this.
See, that's right. That sounds right to me. When you say I could care less,
couldn't care less,
that means that you do care. It's very strange.
But I could not.
This is the problem with doing this live, so we just can't edit Brian at all.
All right. People know we've already been on here for 40 minutes just nonsensing around.
Yeah. We've been going back and forth whether we're doing this shit live or not. So one good news is we are real close to booking a special guest, that sports psychologist who has been under the coaching thumb of Nick Saban. So I think I got a yes out of him. So hopefully I can send this out to him and say, that's kind of a commitment. So trying to get him on the next 2 weeks, especially with everything going on right now, and all the negative media that's out there that starts weighing on your mind, right? And can start affecting how you conduct your daily habits. Mm-hmm. I will say that usually negative media, publicity, and stuff like that doesn't affect me, but there was a couple articles that came out yesterday, and I'm like, holy shit, why are we even doing this? Right? Why am I even coming in and trying to take more business? I mean, they're saying it's going to be 4 times worse than the 2008 recession.
4 times worse? Who said that?
I'll have to send you the article.
That is a bald-faced lie. You probably read one of the websites Matt and I were talking about earlier, like Vantage Point.
Tatersgonatate.com.
Yeah, tatersgonatate.info.buttcrack or whatever. Like, there's no way. It's four times worse than the 2008 recession. Do you understand the magnitude of that? That's bananas.
I know this was on a legit, I think it was like a Washington Post or something like that. I'll send it to you.
Whatever.
I purposely deleted it because I was reading it last night, right before bed. I'm like, oh, why am I reading this shit?
I've chosen to forego that news for now. I'm just focusing on what we can do. I'm doing my part.
Yeah.
And that's all we can do.
Yeah, like Matt's a great example. We were talking about this earlier about how you got to filter out what you're taking in info-wise. Matt just spent an hour lead generating with our whole team. We set 3 appointments, had a ton of great conversations. We executed another contract during that time. Like, yeah, like I think we just need to start drawing the line here mentally between, are we going to be afraid of this because it's a virulent pandemic and there's like health risks involved, which we can take precautions around? Or are we going to use this as like some sort of excuse, like, oh, this is, inciting an economic recession, and so like the real estate market's just going to fall apart? Like, the reality is, either way, there's no excuse not to continue to push forward and grow your business. Like, a lot of people like sold Nick, you were one of them. A lot of people grew their businesses during the recession. That's because a lot of other people sat on the couch and then eventually got out of the business completely. So even if you're telling me it's going to be 4 times worse than the last recession, one, I don't think that's mathematically possible. But two, you're not really scaring me in the sense that just means like a whole lot of people are going to hang up their licenses and we'll be the ones left standing if we're going to be the ones that work our butts off.
Right. And before we go and dive into that, let's start off first with what the main topic is that Opendoor.
Breaking news.
Yeah. Where's the breaking news?
Derek, can you do breaking news? Just do it vocally.
Dun, 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 dun.
That one might be copyrighted.
Yeah, you're going to get us sued.
Yeah, we're in trouble for that one. So, Inman just posted that Opendoor is laying off 35% of their staff, over 600 staff members, employees. And they are, since what is it, the first or second week of March, Opendoor, Zillow Offers, OfferPad they've not been buying any properties.
They've not been buying any properties. And like, if we want to extrapolate this conversation, I think what's really, really valuable in this conversation, and we can kind of, revisit the Redfin thing as well, now that I've had a week to cool off, and like kind of talk about objection handlers and stuff. Cause I think like this is unreal good news. Like, here's what you're not seeing. You're not seeing a ton of really, really well efficient like brokerages like laying off a whole ton of people. You're seeing discount brokers and like institutional investment firms that really run on volume and razor thin margins laying off a lot of people. That's really good news for our industry as a whole. And I want to dive into that further, but I want to get you guys' take on that first. I think that is an incredibly good thing. And I know it's morbid because there's human beings that work for these companies. I don't want to like wish ill upon them, but as far as like what the value that realtors bring to the community, I think it's an incredibly telling thing that the institutional investments and discount brokers have been the first ones to get hit really, really hard.
No, I agree. And here's what I'll say, and this is what I've been telling my team here the last week and a half is our stock value has been rising, right? For the longest time, the last couple of years, we've been beaten down by the Zillows and the Opendoors and everything else, the OfferPads, and we were saying people weren't valuing us. And guess what? Now I know that one of our agents took a listing right now that Opendoor, they submitted to Opendoor. Opendoor's not doing anything, and they reached back out to us, and now that's a seller buyer that's walked through the door, right? Yep. And so it's going to create more opportunities.
Yep.
If you're willing to take advantage of it. There's still people who want to sell to Opendoor, who want that ease of convenience, and now you can step in and be the one creating your own iBuyer company.
Sure.
And I don't know, tell me about what Keller Williams is doing. Are they still doing their iBuyer since they were partnered with OfferPad?
Yeah. Well, actually, don't quote me on that. I have no idea if the Keller Williams like brokerage wide iBuyer, what's going on with that. I know that our particular region has a separate iBuyer program that just the owners of the region have implemented a couple years back or about 18 months back that is still going strong. And we're actually utilizing it. We have a couple agents on our team right now that have been utilizing it at a pretty high level and getting offers out to people. So they're still rocking and rolling, which I think is a pretty cool value add. Um, but I just think from an ejection handler standpoint, like the reason I say this is such awesome news is that we've had this thing hanging over us for the last couple of years in that we've been having business being taken off the table by the List Sparks and the Redfins and the Open Doors of the world. And the argument against them, the way that we would handle objections and stuff, it would all sound well and good, but like to a seller that's sort of already heard both spiels and just sort of made up their mind already, it's really difficult to kind of throw numbers and real facts at people and just have them change their mind, mostly because people just don't want to be told that they were wrong. And when somebody kind of already commits to something like an open door or a discount broker or something, like sometimes the hardest thing to do is handle their objections, not because you're wrong, but just because they don't want to hear anything else. Like they want to just have their decision validated. And so they just go that direction, even though it's not what's best for them. Well, now these companies are failing. It's pretty easy to have these conversations because not only can I talk to you all about Open Door's business model and how they're screwing you, I can tell you about how they've screwed themselves by running that business model for 2 years, and now that's collapsing and they're having to lay off 30% of their workforce and they're not buying any more homes. So it puts some credibility to things that we've been saying.
Well, let me ask you this. If you sold to Open Door and you were happy with it over the last 2 years, as a consumer, they don't care, right? It's kind of like, well, thankfully I got in right before they got out. Yeah. And I got that ease of convenience as a real estate industry and as a brokerage. Yep. What can the brokerage be doing to step up during this time when the Open Doors and the Zillows and the Redfin offers, et cetera, like that are now sleeping, right? Because this is the time to kind of take back that market share,
sure,
and become that dominant force that we really should have been in the first place, and not giving that away.
I mean, I think it's recognizing that there's a lot of opportunity coming back into the marketplace now. Like, sure, like we're going to see a decrease in some sellers' just willingness to put their home on the market right now, some buyers' willingness to make a move right now because people are a little just kind of on edge about things. That's going to go away here in a few weeks, right? Or a couple months at the latest, right? That's temporary. What I don't think is temporary is Open Door and Redfin and these other people turning their business model around in a way that makes them profitable in all market conditions, but still appeals to that same demographic of people that would have used them in the past. Like fundamentally, if Open Door is going to sustain themselves as a company long term, they have to change their business model because you see how just a few weeks of inactivity has affected them, right? They've had to lay off 30 or 35% of their workforce, right? Redfin, 41% of their agents have been furloughed, right? Like they're showing that their business model doesn't work in all market conditions. So if they're going to survive long term, they've got to change things. And if they do change things, I don't think that there's as much of a value proposition for them there, right? Like, how does Redfin or Open Door come back into the marketplace and continue to steal business from high-level, real valuable agents without practicing the same business model that gets them in trouble when just a few weeks of inactivity basically collapses their entire business? I think just recognizing that there's a huge opportunity there and doubling down on your lead gen is a big part of it.
Do we see Open Door? Do we see them maybe go as more of a traditional brokerage with that? Do you think they convert in that, and then they start taking more 1099, or as it ramps back up, maybe they turn into a Redfin style model and it's salaried agents over there.
Maybe. Here's the deal, right? Like, and I don't know if you're trying to draw me off sides, but Kelderman or somebody's going to need to jump in here because now we're talking about their business model. I'm going to get revved up, right?
I'm just Open Door's business. Go.
Open Door's business model should be fucking illegal in the first place. And if people like this is, you know what, I call myself sort of a cynic towards the real estate industry as a whole. This is the reason why, is because one, business models like this are allowed to operate, and I'm a staunch conservative thinker when it comes to financial policy, so I don't normally like to have government interference with things like this, but I think that Opendoor takes advantage of people in a huge way, and I think it should be fundamentally illegal, right? I think the same thing with Redfin, because I think they've committed, I think that they've created an inherent conflict of interest in their business model, where they would rather your home stay on the market for a long period of time so that they can generate more buyer side revenue. I think they have to change their business model. Opendoor's business model is fundamentally flawed, and I think it should be illegal, right? If you look at Opendoor's closed transactions, any licensed realtor in your state, you can get on the MLS, okay? And you can look at Opendoor's closed transactions in the homes that they've bought. If you just set up your search right, you can go see, and I could prove it to you. I can't share my screen because I'm not the host. Derek is, right? I can show you that Opendoor has bought homes for, let's just say, $260, right? Opendoor goes and buys the homes for $260, right? I have seen instances where Opendoor has sold the home for less than what they bought it for, right? Which means they convinced some poor sap that in the name of convenience, okay, that in the name of convenience, they would sell their house for a certain price. They would give them a certain price. This house probably didn't need a ton of repairs, probably didn't need a bunch of really anything, right? Then somehow Opendoor, in order to sell that home quickly, turned around, cleaned the carpets, put it back on the market for $255. Okay, they use their own in-house title, right? They don't pay their agents hardly anything. Like I don't know, like I don't know what happens when I don't know how their commissions are set up for their listing agents, but I think they get like a flat fee or salary or something like that, right? So they cut costs there, and then somehow this business model still makes them money. The only way that this business model makes them money is if you go onto Opendoor's website and dig real deep into their fine print. You will see that on average, they are charging people 12% in fees, plus asking for any major repairs to be made by the seller just for these people to sell their home. There's no way that a company can sell or buy a house for X amount and sell it for less than X amount and still make money unless they're completely fucking you somewhere in the process, right? And when they do that, I get it. It's probably on the sellers to read the fine print and all that type of stuff. Tell that to all the people that were taking out ninja loans in 2007, right? Like we have institutional fraud in the sense that they are basically creating a business model where they are paid to bury all the real details in fine print that they know you'll never read, and they can go and sell your house for less than they bought it for, still make money. And that's what that does. Not only is that just completely immoral, it removes liquidity from the market. You've just removed equity from that asset, and you do that a few thousand times or 10,000 times or whatever a year all across the country. You have you have systematically depreciated the national housing market one by one, and then you have copycats, you have OfferPad, you have all these other these people that do the same thing, all in the name of convenience. The American homeowner is getting screwed by these companies, and it will lead to another collapse eventually if these things keep going. I'm hoping that this business model was fundamentally flawed enough that their margins were so razor thin that they only make money off. Really, they make money on fees to cover the losses on the actual sales of the homes that they're buying, right? They don't make any money on actual asset sales, right? Which would be good, which means they would be making capital improvements and providing more liquidity in the market. Like if a home flipper buys a home and renovates it and makes it a better asset and then gets paid on the back end, that's good. That's providing more liquidity into the marketplace and better assets, right? That's regular appreciation. That's capital appreciation. That's capital improvements that lead to forced depreciation. That's good. Opendoor's not doing that, right? Over time, that would lead to a huge problem in our housing market.
Well,
and I'm hoping that they're.
Let me ask you this, though. Let me ask you this. I'm going to interject on that because what you're seeing when they bought it. Let's just say they bought something off of the MLS, right?
Sure.
So that we can actually see their numbers, the numbers that they're buying it from. You know, if their average is a 12%, let's just say it's a 12% fee in there.
Sure.
You know, and they're selling it for. Say they bought it for $250 and they sell it for $245.
Sure.
Well, they're still inking out just a hair of profit on there, right?
Because fees.
Because it's fees, and so what they're just doing, it's a magic trick to these consumers, which I don't see necessarily a problem with it when because they're just a bigger investor version.
Well, now I get to
Right.
interject again because I'll tell you what the fucking problem is, Nick. The problem isn't in that one transaction. The problem is when this institutional mindset of making profits off of fees instead of profits off capital improvements starts to spread. It's not the people that sold that suffer so much. It's the next door neighbor who just lost $5,000 in equity in his home because his dumbass neighbor bought into Opendoor's bullshit. And now their comparable sale is not what they bought it for, Opendoor bought it for, but what they sold it for, which is now less. You do that hundreds of thousands of times across the country, and every single every normal lower to middle class American homeowner loses a shitload of equity in the house. They're shaving equity from the market, right? They're shaving liquidity from the market. They're shaving people's ability to sell their home and move on to the next chapter of lives, and then again take those proceeds and infuse it back into the economy. So if you take this mindset, this business model, and extrapolate it over time, like, yeah, maybe next year, maybe not the year after, but year after year after year after year, you're shaving more and more equity off of the American homeowners' books. And then when they go to sell on the back end, they're making less money. And then what their nest egg, everything they put in their house, it gets reduced. You do that across the entire housing industry, and you've lost hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars over time.
Well, let me
that's how we run into a big problem.
Let me ask you this. By the way, I saw that I see on our live stream that we have Richard Davis watching. If you don't know who Richard Davis is, go look him up. He was one of I think he made like the flipping, the flipping reality shows. He's the one who started that.
Yeah. And he's a saint because what he does is he makes better comparable sales for people and gives them more equity.
Let me ask you though, is that who we're blaming Opendoor, but where should the blame be? Is that on us as real estate agents, or the way our community handles it and how complicated how tough we can make it? It's consumers want ease and convenience, or is it the consumer who's just taking the easy way out?
Everybody's fault, dude. And I don't know, like that's tough. Like the blame game is tough, right? Like go back to the last housing crisis. Whose fault is it? Is it every, like mom and pop savings and loan in Florida that was giving out no doc loans, or was it the investment banks that were buying them sight unseen, packaging them up into mortgage-backed securities, or was it AIG for buying billions of dollars worth of insurance on mortgage-backed securities that would eventually collapse without looking at what it was in any of the bonds? Like everybody dropped the ball along the way. And I think that it's kind of the same thing here. Yeah, I want to blame the American homeowner for being so dumb that they just think that something is for not thinking that something would be too good to be true. Like when Opendoor gives you a full price offer for your home that full well they're not going to move into. Like how a light bulb doesn't go off in your head and be like, hey, why would you give me full price for my home if you're not going to live here? Isn't the only way you make money as an investor to buy it for less and then sell it for more, or to screw me in fees? Like, yeah, I want to blame that dude because he's being stupid. But I also know that he didn't spend the last decade of his life becoming an expert in these matters. So I probably don't know how to do his job either. And if I was tasked with it, I'd probably fail at that. So or do I blame Opendoor? It's also a situation where it's like, don't hate the player, hate the game, right? I want to hate Opendoor, but their business model has worked. I guess I don't hate Opendoor. I'm really happy to see that they're failing right now because I think what they do is fundamentally unethical. Why do you get me all worked up like this?
Because this one, we're back live, and we need to make sure that since we're not in studio, we need to make sure that this we draw the interest back, right?
Sure.
And plus, look, I'm not disagreeing with you in a sense. I just look at it as where's the opportunity, and how can we, again, and as the real estate agent community, how can we make this more convenient for the consumer? Because that's what they're wanting in general. That's why they go that path.
Yeah.
Right. They don't want to have to deal with. They don't want to have to deal with people coming in their house. They don't want to have to deal with the letdown that's all right. They may it's kind of like dating, right? You're dating someone that you're really into, and then you find out you're like, I think they're into me, and then all of a sudden they're like, nope, I'm actually into this other person, and then they just leave you right away, and then they let you down, and then they leave feedback of all your flaws.
Sure.
Right. That shit sucks. And so I get why they go that direction. I also get the I call it the puffery that we do as real estate agents that are banging our chest when in reality it's not real.
I mean, like, here's the thing. You hit the nail on the head. The reality is this opportunity isn't real if we don't take advantage of it. And the reality is that the average American homeowner who is thinking about selling to Opendoor is not going to allow me to get all worked up in their living room and explain for 45 minutes why they're dumb. Like, they're going to kick me out. So like that argument that I just made, it really falls flat. It falls on deaf ears to people that are really considering an investor to come in and purchase their home. I think that hopefully through this pandemic and everything, what we're learning is that a lot of the convenience that they bank on, we can also provide. And I think that, you like Kelderman's already said, and maybe you can jump in here, is that he hopes he never has to go on an in-person listing presentation again, because he's been knocking them out of the park in the virtual realm, right? So I think that retrofitting our business to fit the demand of the consumer, apparently is not always getting top dollar. It is convenience, right? And we have allowed this stigma to be attached to real estate agents, that it's just more difficult to work with us from a transactional standpoint. That's our opportunity. Our opportunity is, how do we streamline our processes so that I can get you the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time for only 6% or whatever my commission is, right? And give you that in the same amount of time with the same sort of service and everything as an Opendoor or a Redfin would. I think that's the opportunity.
Right. 100% agree. Plus, again, how did Opendoor get out there? It's the marketing.
Sure.
So when you combine it with a marketing aspect of being able to understand your unique selling proposition, or your USP, unique selling value, and being able to properly communicate that, and get that message out. That's huge. And then following through and executing on that plan, right? Because how many times have we heard people say they're going to do something, and it's just getting them to say yes, and then all of a sudden they get stuck into this shitty contract that they can't get out of.
So maybe that's like really good for us to jump on Tour Academy Mastermind on Monday and dive deep. Is like, look, why are we not fighting fire with fire? Right? Like the average realtor, what is their marketing proposition? Like free home valuation, market statistics, all this other stuff that we do. Why are we not fighting fire with fire, in the sense that we're putting a lot of our marketing dollars behind convenience? That's all Opendoor's marketing. Why aren't we retrofitting our digital ads? Why are we not retrofitting our direct mail? Why are we not retrofitting our webinars, our client appreciation events, all that type of stuff that we do to get our names out there? Why are we not trying to get our message to be convenience now?
Well, and Francis just commented. Francis Spencer made a comment, said, "This is the wave of the future in real estate: virtual transactions."
I agree.
And I was on y'all's webinar earlier this week, where one of the questions or something that came up was talking about, even streamlining closings and being able to close virtually. And I think someone, maybe it was you, Matt, or maybe someone that was on the webinar asked a question about can it be done? And absolutely, a lot of this stuff can be virtual, and a lot of this stuff can be, we could take out the headaches of it. The problem is, each industry, if you take like title, mortgage, insurance, everyone wants to overcomplicate what they're doing so they can feel more valuable in it. And that's the reason why you go to, you're still going to in-person closings, and they want wet signatures instead of just docu-signing everything, where we could be doing this here, talking to a notary or an escrow officer who's explaining the process really quick, and they could be doing it from their home. And then, as you're signing the paperwork, they're basically saying, if you don't pay, you don't stay, using all their same lingo. I mean, I know when I bought a truck, even a few years back, I quickly signed everything on an iPad instead of, and it was seamless and easy when I could have even done it from home.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, that's like with anything, right? Like over time, I think that just time smooths out the edges of all processes, right? Like even though there's a commitment to wet signatures and things like that for a reason, we will find new ways of new security measures, like new ways of getting things done in a virtual realm. Like, I think one of the questions we need to ask is not whether or not those types of things are possible, but how long it's going to take us. And I think that this whole global pandemic has forced us into a position where we didn't really think about these things, and now we need to. And now that we're being forced to think about them, we're coming up with solutions that will probably last, for a long time in this industry. Like nobody really had a problem going to closings before at the title company. That was part of the process, right? And we, even when DocuSign and all the other, dot loop and all the virtual or e-signature programs came along, like, yeah, it made the upfront transactional part easier, sending offers, getting your clients to sign contracts, all that type of stuff. We always just accepted that closings were kind of a secular thing where you just had to go. And like now we're being forced to work around that a little bit. And we're learning a lot of things through force, that I think are going to last a lifetime. So I'm interested to see what the next 5 years in real estate look like as far as how the transaction goes from start to finish. I think we're going to see it take a whole different shape, I think.
First off, I want to say that you two are doing a great show today. This has been fantastic.
I appreciate it.
I wanted to circle back to something Nick said too, because we kind of got off on the virtual transaction, but I think it still fits into the Opendoor conversation and convenience, right? Like we just have to realize that for some people, they are okay with giving up equity. There are people out there who just do not understand, and I'll very honestly admit that I'm one of those people who like don't really value the dollar the same way other people value their dollars. I can't remember if Brian and I were already partners, but I lost the listing to Opendoor last year because this lady didn't want to stop smoking weed in her place, right? Like she just didn't want to go through the hassle of and I even told her in the listing appointment, like, I hope you smoke the greatest weed on the planet because you are about to give up anywhere between $12,000 to $15,000 for said weed. Like that was legitimately her reason, and she just didn't want to deal with it. Like there's always going to be space for an open door. But
did you not flip the objection on that one and say, just think of how much more weed you could buy with an extra $12,000?
Yeah, dude, there were so many conversations about marijuana in that listing appointment, and I didn't. It was the most insane thing. It's the most ridiculous
weird
reason.
Reality to face, to think that if you just came with a bag of weed, you probably would have got the listing. Like that's such a weird thing to think about.
The silliest part about that particular situation was, and I hate getting off on just one particular deal, but that was obviously way outside the box. But that lady wasn't looking at it as costing her $15,000. The $15,000 in her mind was funny money that didn't really exist in her pocket, and she was willing to allow that money to go somewhere else to not have to deal with the hassle of listing the home and all the other things that came with it. But we've already seen how people can work out the virtual side of stuff, right? Like everybody is pretty much doing it at this point. I said the other day, if my Corona version of the XFL is one thing, I'm taking the Sky, the XFL took the NFL took the Sky camera into the NFL from the XFL. Virtual listing appointments is what I want to take from coronavirus into Matt's business going forward. Right? Like now I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but it's certainly something that I'm going to start offering as an option and want to work it into my conversations with people who maybe are reluctant to meet. They don't have time. I'm learning a lot of objection handlers for inconvenience right now, right? People just don't have time because the kids are at the house or whatever. Like there's a lot of different types of conversations happening now that I think are going to be really great for my business on the other side, especially when it comes to taking listings specifically.
Well, let's not go to the way XFL went because they just filed bankruptcy.
No, I don't want to go that way. But that's what I'm saying. I want the coronavirus to go bankrupt. The coronavirus is the XFL. I am the NFL. I am taking from my coronavirus experience virtual listing appointments.
Well, I do want to, and I want to bring back kind of the coronavirus kind of talk here in a bit when we're going to go over some questions that or some problems that are stopping people right now of taking more business that was answered in our group, the only real estate group worth being a part of. But what are you guys feeling? Because I think that's enough Opendoor talk. What are you guys feeling in your business right now?
We're feeling it this month. Pendings are definitely down. It's funny because I'm having a lot more sellers who want to have serious listing conversations, right? Like that part of it seems weird to me. Just the amount, I had 3 of them today. I've got a call at 5:00 when we're done here. I've got another one at 7 and then another one at 2 tomorrow that all came in today people are just like, yeah, we still want to list. We need to talk to you. Right. Yeah. So for some reason I've been having really great listing conversations, but pendings are definitely starting to feel the pendings a little bit.
I think that we're seeing kind of exactly what, a lot of the people that we certainly look up to had predicted we would see, right? We are seeing a little bit of a slow in activity right now that will probably bleed into next month. Like we are on pace, I think, only to do 10 pendings this month. So that's down definitely from our average amount of houses that we put under contract by about 50%. And it's probably going to bleed into next month. But as Matt just said, we're having probably more conversations per capita, right, than we usually do because one, people are have a heck of a lot more time to talk nowadays, right? They're itching to talk to other human beings, and people aren't stupid. Like, we've already kind of seen the mental tipping point of the pandemic for a lot of people. Like, they've checked out on how much they're going to let this interfere with their day-to-day mentality. They're already bored of it and they're looking towards the future. So we've got a lot of people that are getting ready to go. I can tell you, like, I want to be optimistic all the time. So I don't want to just say that like this is just like some buzzwordy thing. I am legitimately predicting that we have the strongest third and fourth quarter that we've ever had. I just think that people are just itching to get back out there. And as soon as the government or whatever is influencing people kind of lifts their seriousness about this and some of the orders and things like that, people are going to come flooding back to the marketplace because, you know, as Kelderman just said, we're having a ton of conversations, I think more so from our lead gen efforts than we would on kind of any normal atmosphere.
Yeah, and I just looked. We have 14 under contract right now, but I will say that we definitely feel a kind of a slowdown from the end of March. But Easter weekend, we felt a mini surge, right? So I think what's going to happen during this time is that we're going to feel that slowness, and then we're going to feel these 2, 3, 4 days of surging, right? And the way that we're handling that, way we're preparing for that, is making sure that we're still hitting the lead gen as hard as we can, so that we can take advantage of those surges. Right. I mean, I know that we have 2, 3, 4 listing agreements out for signatures, I think, or 3 or 4 right now. And we'll probably end up, it's April 15th right now. We'll probably end up between, 10 to 12 listings signed, which is definitely down from March of 21. Right. Sure. So we are feeling that shift, and what we're doing right now is just having the kind of that lull to harvest is we're still planting those seeds and hitting that follow up really, really hard. Right.
Yeah, my follow's been awesome lately. Like, that's where I will say, like, maybe if you haven't heard this as a real estate agent already, you've just been sticking your head in the sand, but this is the most amazing time to hit people with follow up and hit your sphere with just conversations about how they're doing, right? That'll lead you to other conversations a month from now or whatever. If you're not doing that, you need to start that today.
I will say that also, that we're still, I mean, a lot of the sellers we're talking to are still living in like a 90 to 120 day lag time, because their prices are they're still even, I think they're living in 2017 price range times. Right. And so I noticed that we're having a lot of those conversations of saying, like, look, I get it. We're not asking to lower your price because of coronavirus. We're asking because you were priced too high in general. Right. And we're having a lot of that with expired listings. We're having a lot of that talk with for sale by owners. I am also noticing that we're having a lot of conversations with people. Again, this is where the opportunity is. We're having a lot of conversations with people that maybe would have gone to that Opendoor and sold to one of those investment company types. And they're reaching out to us for help, which, again, if you're bolstering your investor pockets and saying, all right, I have this opportunity to start pushing out, just make sure that they can close on the property.
Yeah. 100%, man. I think that you both guys made awesome points. The follow-up game especially is just so huge right now. And I think, to bring it back, we always tend to bring everything back to mindset one way or another. It's just like, if you are struggling to figure out what to do in your business right now and where this all goes and what this looks like on the other side, just forget about everything that you're paralyzed about and just pick up the phone and start following up with people, right? And it doesn't even need to be real estate related. Just have human contact and conversations with people. And I promise you, the more you do that, the better shape you're going to be in on the other side. But if you're kind of just sheltering in place mentally right now, meaning you're just not getting it into gear, that's step one. You got to just start banging the phones again to make sure that you're in, even if it's just to reach out for help, or not for reach out to see what you can do to help. That's been a big part of our strategy through all of this is community outreach. And I know Nick has gone above and beyond with his community outreach. Like, that's been huge. Not only is it good to give back to the community, but man, does it get you in touch with a lot of people. That's huge.
I was doing lead generation today, and Angel, one of our agents, had a conversation with a lady, or maybe it was Ashley. I can't remember. Sorry if I'm shouting out the wrong person, but either way, who had owned a restaurant, and she had in her notes from a previous conversation the lady owned a restaurant, so she just asked her how she was doing. But he's like, "We'll be good once we open back up." And then she started crying. She's like, "Honestly," she's like, "nobody's really asked me how that part of it was going," which I find insane.
Yep.
That you'd have a friend who owns a restaurant, you don't ask them how they're doing. But she completely broke down, and Ashley had a great conversation with her. And again, it wasn't about business. It's just a place for her to be of service. And I'm sure that in the coming months, that she will be able to take that conversation and turn it into a deeper conversation about something else that might lead to something else. You know,
man, and hindsight's always 2020, so it's easy to say that now that happened. But like, man, I hope people are seeing, especially in our business, and I know Nick, you preach this in your business, how freaking important it is to take good notes on your conversations, like, and be systematic about this stuff. Like, dang, this is coming into play right now. If you're able to look back in your notes and really have personal conversations with people, that is so unbelievably meaningful to them right now. And I'm hoping that people really took. I know that's something that Matt and I have preached in all our live events, and Nick, all three of us do in every Tour Academy thing that we do. Just, man, keep up with your relationships and take really, really, really good notes for all your lead gen sessions, because it's days like this and times like this where they'll come into play in a really big way.
It's funny you bring that up. Elizabeth Austin and I were talking about we're talking about kind of notes in general, and making sure that we're going to put a rule in place of not putting negative, like let's say you have a bad or poor conversation with someone. A lot of times you're like, oh, this dude's an asshole, right? Unrealistic, etc. And then when you go back and read those notes, let's say you put a follow up in for a month later, and you're like, oh, that guy was a jerk. He, told me to go kill myself. Like, I don't think I really want to have that conversation with this guy today. I'm going to put this follow up off for another 2 or 3 weeks. And then you just, again, you continue pushing it and pushing and pushing it, where, if you did not put that in there, chances are you're probably not going to remember that it was that conversation went poorly. Just talk about the details of the main gist of the conversation. So that's something that we're looking at putting in place of not having, negative, any negative wording in our notes. Just stick to the facts of, what's their motivation, their time frame, willingness to work with an agent.
That's really good. I
love where you guys are at with that, man. Because again, my little sensitive relationship ass does the exact opposite. Like, somebody's just over the top. Like, again, I don't get my feelings. You guys see in the group, I can handle most of it. But somebody just goes out of control, I straight up delete number, trash, and I'll put right in the description, asshole, do not call.
I look at it by look, more than likely, they're probably having some type of bad day. And I just happen to catch that, the either the beginning, middle, or end of their bad day. And hopefully them taking it out on me made it better. Yeah. And plus, it's even better when they send it to us in text messages, because then we can post it in the only real estate group worth being a part of. So if you're not a part of that, go take a look, because I know Matt just posted one last week, and it was great.
You wanted me to die by bow and arrow, but that is honestly the least great part of that whole text message.
So well thought out. I want you to die specifically.
I know that we used to have it around here. We were going to hang it. I don't know where it is, but I know Austin, my brother, had one where the guy sent back our postcard and wrote all over it. I posted it in the group. You have to go back, but this literally, the guy said, go back in time and kill your entire bloodline so that you would never be born.
Oh my God.
Those don't even hurt my feelings, because they're just so ridiculous.
I'm like, you took the time to write, it was written all on it, and then you took the time to mail it back. I mean, that's impressive. Right? So, all right, let's go over some questions, because we're about 43 minutes in, got a few more. And most of these questions that we're running into are stuff that we've answered on previous shows. I think we hit the follow-up one in there, right? So, sure. It just being holding to your schedule and being more consistent with your follow-up on a daily basis. If you're going to tell them you're going to follow up on Thursday, May 17th, or whatever May 17th is, go ahead and put that in your calendar, put it in your iPhone, your Android, whatever you're using, make sure it pops up on that day, and then make sure that you call them, text them, and reach out. I mean, it's simple. I've never understood the lack of follow-up issue. I've never understood that. If you already had a conversation with somebody and you say you're going to follow up with them, why would we not do that?
Freaking follow up.
To me,
Well,
it's
and
not hard.
here's what I tell people around follow up. Believe your past self. When you left that note, when you left that follow up, you believed that the conversation that you had was good enough that this new conversation now needs to happen. And you hit on it a little bit earlier, Nick. We get to the second part of that, and even with people we like, and then we don't make that phone call, and it's like, you set that follow up thinking there was potential future business there. Why do you distrust your past self so much? Right?
That's so good. That's so true.
Another one was setting a schedule and time blocking, which again we've hit in the past. And I mean, we're still seeing that even with COVID-19 and the shelter in place happening, I am talking and hearing people are struggling with their schedule a little bit more, right?
Well, okay,
I am
Staying
100%.
consistent.
I've admitted this multiple
but
times.
and here's the thing. Let's call it what it is, though. People aren't struggling with their schedule. It's easy to make a schedule. I have Google Calendars. I can make one in 5 minutes. We're struggling with the discipline to stick to our schedule, right? And I guess my advice around that would be you need to anchor yourself, right? Like one of the bad habits that I think we get into is whenever we can't stick to our time block schedule, we just make a new time block schedule and think that we'll stick to that. Like we do that all the time. Like I know people that make a new time block schedule every single month. And I'm like, you didn't stick to the last one. I don't know how this is going to be any different. My advice would be like one of the things that's keeping me on track right now is you got to find an anchor in your day. Otherwise the hours just get away from you. I know that if I exercise every day, I'll get the rest of my stuff done. It kind of gives me my baseline. And I try to do it as early as possible, right? So like whether that's reading or a podcast that you're listening to or kind of like whatever, or meditation or whatever gets you on track, like that's got to be the most important thing to you as early in the day as possible, because that I think sets the tone for everything else. I don't think it's a scheduling issue. I just think it's really tough right now to keep that mindset because everything sort of is just dragging on and bleeding together. Try to find that one really, really positive behavior and knock it out as early as possible.
Well, and all of those people who had calendar issues prior to this, while going into the office and having our anchor, we for sure have calendar issues now too, right? Like
Exactly.
I found myself staying up way late. And so the advice I would have for the people who are struggling to like make your extra hours count. If you've become a little bit of a night owl, do something somewhat productive from an organizational or system standpoint that you've been meaning to do during those hours, right? I've been meaning to post a bunch of backloaded content that I've been getting out there really slowly that I've been trying to get on some other pages forever. Mm-hmm. And at least I'm making some use of my 10 to midnight where I'm taking those extra hours. Cause I where I've lost is like my getting up in the morning. There's honestly,
sure,
there's not a ton to do at 9 a.m. that's work related right now. Right. So it's like, cause I'm making a little bit of a softer phone call. So I'm not hammering people at 8 a.m.
Right.
So a little bit of it is just kind of, I've stayed up later and gotten up earlier, gotten up later as well.
Well, and that may be easier. Because look, normally during normal times, I'm usually asleep by 9:15, 9:30. I am staying up till like 1:30 in the morning, which is late. That's super late for me.
Same,
right.
Yeah.
But during this time, I'm also, actually, it's funny you bring that up, Matt, like about doing that time, because I'm doing a lot of LinkedIn stuff right now. And I'd sent a message to a lady about signing up for the Live with Leaders replay that I did last week that I promoted and talked about tour about on there. And the lady messaged back on LinkedIn is like, it's 1:05 or 1:03 a.m. And I'm like, this is a LinkedIn message. What does it matter? Like,
why are you responding right now?
It's like, so are you going to sign up? Like, but it is your time. You can get your emails out. You can maybe even categorize your Facebook and you getting your sphere and database a lot organized. Because I know Elizabeth is doing that right now, where she's organizing her past clients and she's organizing her sphere so that she can be more effective when reaching out to them.
Yep. Love it.
All right. We kind of hit it, consistency. Like, what are you guys doing to stay consistent at the moment? During this, because I know, Matt, Luke is home.
Yep.
My house, there is a reason why I still have to come in the office every now and again, because I have, 2 kids at home, a mother-in-law at home, and, Heather and I have been sharing an office. And so it gets hectic trying to be able to stay consistent with whatever and focus on your work.
I think
It's been a little bit difficult with Luke here. Like I said, if you've been on any Zoom calls with me recently, he makes an appearance in all of them. Our webinar, he was screaming at the wrestling match on the television like a maniac. So it does make it a little bit different. One of them was today, just getting us scheduled, from 2 to 3 today. I just lead generated with the entire team, right? Like that was just kind of nice to have one set hour where we were all together. It felt familiar. We were all doing the same thing. We were having conversations around our business a little bit. So even finding little stuff like that to have some consistency in the day, I think is important. And it's a little bit easier for us because we're a team, but there's plenty of agents out there who I'm sure would be willing to set up a Zoom link and you guys all get on and lead generate together.
Yeah.
There's a million things real estate agents could be doing.
And you've been doing well, Matt. You talked about it, I think, on the Tour Academy Zoom call, where you were putting almost a hard stop around 11 a.m. and spending time, an hour and a half or whatever it is with Luke, right?
Yep.
And so you're actually using this and taking advantage of the right way. He normally would be in school.
It's
right?
born from necessity, right? Like the reality is he's just not going to let me go 8 hours strong. He's just not. So if I stop down at 11 and we wrestle a couple of matches together and then he cons me into a third one and then we eat a turkey sandwich and then I hop on Facebook Live with Brian, that's about 90 minutes. And then I can get back to doing whatever I'm doing. Yeah. But again, I feel like some of us too maybe feel a little bit more inactive than we normally do. But the reality is we have a lot more time. Part of my inactivity is there's no drive. There's easily 3 hours in my day that was just handed back to me because I'm working from home and not really, I'm not showing a ton of buyers right now. I'm only showing people who absolutely need to show it. So I think some of what I've tried to tell myself too is that I'm doing the best for where I'm at right now. I'm still procuring business. I haven't had anybody scream at me that I'm doing anything wrong from a lead generation perspective. And Luke seems to be entertained for the most part. So I'm kind of like, I'm doing exactly what I should be doing,
I like it. Yeah. Well, let's hope that the person that we want on the show here in the next 2 weeks gives us a hard yes, because I know for a fact that's going to be huge, for our listeners and everything, and people watching about how to kind of block that negative energy and not let it affect your mind. He coaches under Nick Saban, so really great dude. I talked to his people. So we're going to try to put it out there in the next coming weeks. We do want to ask favors from you guys during this time. I know we posted it in the only real estate group worth being a part of, but if there's somebody, and we want to go for some of these heavy hitters like a Ryan Serhant or something like that, we're trying to get these people on. So if you can help us, Matt, you were telling Brian the other day, like really we're all 1 degree of separation, right? Or whatever it was.
Yeah. Look, as real estate agents, we're especially now, like I feel like I'm probably one person away from the majority of people in the real estate world. Like there's got to be somebody in the circle between the three of us that knows pretty much everybody else. So tell us who you know, guys.
Yeah, tell us.
David Hill on last week. He didn't tell the story, but Nick alluded to it in one of his episodes about how he got Gary Vee on his show. I think he's got Cardone coming on. Like, regardless of how you feel about those people, they bring a lot of knowledge and they're very successful. So
absolutely,
I'd love to be able to pick their brain too.
And I know that Derek he was producing a show the other day with some billionaire on there, right? Yeah. I mean, Derek needs to be hooking us up, man.
I actually sold a unit right above that said billionaire in a building in Dallas. And the reason that person lived in that building is because it's the only personal residence in DFW with a helipad on the roof.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Awesome. I just read an article. I did read an article today that I was like, all right, this makes during this downturn, everything else, I want to make as much money as possible, because if and when this ever happens again, I want to personally be able to do this, where they're talking about all these uber wealthy people just taking out yachts and chartering yachts for 8 to 12 weeks.
Yep.
And just spinning it out there and then kind of docking up on this little island. Yeah. I'm like, that sounds like they're quarantining the right way.
That's the way to write out self-isolation.
That should be your wealth building goal, should be that during the next economic downturn, you have to take your Instagram private because everybody's giving you so much smoke about you being too well off. That should be a good personal wealth.
Next time we go into Nick's office, he's going to have like a vision board on a piece of construction paper on that window that sits right in front of him. And it's just going to have a big picture of a yacht and then like a cutout picture of Nick sitting on it.
My team will probably make just some funny meme of that.
I hope so.
Or maybe our buddy Corey Mills will.
Yeah,
right.
exactly. He'll meme something.
All right, guys. Well, we appreciate it. Go over to touracademy.com. Sign up for our membership. We do have special pricing going on right now, $27 a month. That is a temporary pricing. So go ahead and take advantage of it now. You'll be able to get access to all of our courses. We are making some new ones. There's a emotional cycle of change mindset coming out that we're going to be putting out very soon.
Yeah.
I know Matt's bringing out some new courses. Brian just launched a new one. So go ahead, sign up. There's also a lifetime access, $197. For lifetime access, we're never going to ask you for any more money from that. So go sign up. Or if you just want the bi-monthly, not bi-weekly, the bi-monthly Zoom mastermind calls happens 2 Mondays of the month. It's $22, I believe.
I think it's 20. It's an even better deal.
Even better.
We got rid of that
weird random number for Nick to pull out of his ass. $22.
We got rid of that Opendoor convenience fee, that extra $2. So we actually waived that Opendoor convenience fee in there. So it's $20 if you want to be a part of that. But if you're going to spend $20, you might as well go to $27 and have access to the membership courses.
100%.
That's what I'm talking about.
100%.
Awesome, guys. I liked it. I like being back live. We had great engagements. I think it was cool that Richard Davis, kind of the godfather of house flipping reality TV, popped on. So maybe we can get him on.
Yeah, dude, ask him to come on. That'd be cool.
Yeah. See, we ask our own people in our own circles.
And maybe we can Call of Duty it with Cash Soroy and the rest of those guys.
Dude, figure out his gamer tag. All right, I'm going to the grocery store. I'm jumping on at Kelderman, you got a call at 7?
I got a listing call at 7. I'll be on after.
I'm going to jump on a little earlier than that. So if you guys are not on by 7:45, I'm going to throw a fit because I'm going to be on warming up.
Deal.
Cool. All right. Thanks for watching, y'all.
Yep. Derek, take us out.